It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. That's why I'm excited. You know, I've been praying about this particular trip for about 3 years. Uh, and I've been communicating with my people on the ground for about 3 years as well. I'm gonna introduce you guys
Okay,
to
so
this.
do you want to record this? What you're saying right now? Are you sure?
Um, I'm, this, I'm gonna pause it for a second.
Okay,
It
then.
took me
Thank
so
you.
long to get it going, Will. It just popped on. I don't know. I had some problems. I had to redo it.
Okay,
Uh,
then. I just want to make sure you know you're recording.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, you know, the good thing about Nigeria, you know, it's a split. It's a large split. So you got what's called, you know, sanctuaries over there, where you know there's a church. There's safety, you know, for Christians. You know, they speak English, so that's the beautiful thing. You don't have to translate. Everybody, their government or the country makes it a requirement for youth in school to learn English as a second language. So it's taught in schools. So that's the great thing about it. And then there's a pocket of Christians. However, you know, their ministry, they're constantly converting Muslims to Christianity. That's the beauty of the group that I'm going to. What they started off, a lot of those Christians in these third world countries are often orphaned and the women are widowed. And so the children are fatherless. Most of the children are fatherless or even parentless. And this particular group is a young group, but what they did is they trained their youth in evangelism, and they evangelized to the homeless, the widows, and the fatherless, and they bring them into this church community called El Shaddai. The pastor or the leader is a very young guy as well, so he started doing this at a young age because somebody did it to him at a young age. And he trains these young people from 10, 11, 13, 12, 14-year-olds, and they have a powerful evangelical ministry over there. And over time, they started a church. And it just so happened that they wanted to sing songs and hymns. And what they found or what they noticed is they had a pocket of youth that had some very talented vocals. And eventually they started a worship team. And now that worship team produces music around the world. Let me see if I can do this. I will have to stop, Will. Let's see. I'm gonna give you a glimpse. And my point of it is, so my goal in communicating with them about 3 years ago is like, hey, you know, I want to know more about, you know, what you guys are doing. So I got connected with a guy named Timothy over there. And he began to explain all this to me. And then I talked to him about who I was and what I did. And I asked him my famous question. I said, man, it sounds like you guys have a very productive ministry. You know, I said, I want to hear more about it. So he told me some of the things I just shared with you guys. And I thought that was phenomenal. And then I asked the question, I said, man, do you know what's better than being productive? Of course, you know, prayer, you know, living for God, all those things. But you know, I set them up for reproduction. I said, have you ever heard of spiritual reproduction? He says, no. And then I said, you have a moment. Can I share some things with you? And so I shared a few verses of the Great Commission. The other commissions called Great. And they knew about disciple making, but they didn't understand it. And I said, man, would you mind us setting up some time for me to come over and train you and your group on disciple making? So that word spread it. Now, this has been 3 years in the making because, you know, the reality of it is I wasn't able to go financially, Brother Wayne. And you know, we had other trips that we had on the calendar that we moved forward with. But this particular group, and the more we talked about it, the more people he shared spiritual reproduction with, just a little that I shared with him. the excitement grew. And so they have villages and stuff. And so he tried to put together like a 1,500 person conference for me. And I said, no, we need to change our plans. Let's back up a little bit. I said, this is my first time coming. I only want to meet with you and your community. That's it. Let's make it small. Let's make it intimate. You know, where do y'all meet every day? He told me. How many people it accommodate? He told me. And I said, well, that's it. That's enough. I said, I don't mind, you know, who you bring inside of that venue, but that's going to be it. I just, 20, 25, that's it. But I want your closest relationships in this event. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We'll spend from October 13th through the 17th with that particular group, him and his group. So we'll train on the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And then I'll head over on the 17th to Ghana to meet Soup in Ghana. And he's already pre-warned me that I got a lot of teaching to do over there. So that's kind of our trip, and we'll come back on the 25th. But what I'm trying to pull up is at least a glimpse. They're going to flag me on Zoom if I record, so I ain't going to record. I stopped my recording, which I thought I did. Let me see.
Casey?
Yes, sir.
And is it possible that someone from here may be able to accompany you over there after interacting with you a good bit? Or do you already have, I'm not talking about this specific trip. I'm talking about generally speaking, how does that work? Or does it work? Or does it need to be somebody you're personally discipling or whatever?
No, man, I would love that. When I started organizing or leading, trips, the first thing I did is kind of model what Suit did with large groups. And I took a large group to Haiti. John, remember, he was a part of that group. And I just didn't like the attitudes of some of the people I didn't have a relationship with when it came to wanting to teach something important. And so I shied away after that trip. That was my last large group. I handled it, but it just didn't go well. And so I just started bringing, a few small. I started moving in small circles. And what I noticed also, and Soup and I talked through this, is, I wanted to limit the number of people so it can be more intimate, or it can be intentional with the people I go. So to your question, yes, others can travel, but I try to limit the number to about 10 at the most. That's probably the largest group I want to go with. So, and I would love for someone else to go. I think Dr. Fred and Loretta were going to try to go with us this time. And I was trying to bring over Julius and his wife and Winnie. I just didn't have enough finances because we were under the impression that because they were just coming from Ghana, Uganda, the flights would be fairly cheap. But man, those flights for each one of them was like $700 a piece. $200-300, we could have made it happen, but their flights was like $700 a piece round trip, no matter what we tried. So yeah, but definitely the next time I want to make sure I bring other folks with me. So please put that on your calendar. Chris, I got you down. You already talked to me about that, so I got you down. So yeah, but thanks, Brother Wayne.
Yeah, Loretta and I will be joining Mr. Campbell in Ghana.
Yes. And I didn't pressure to follow back up with Dr. Fred because this was a late scratch for me, meaning I didn't think I was gonna make this trip. But once I get enough to pay for the first plane ticket, I'm going. I'm gonna figure it out. God gonna make it happen. So if he give me to the first plane ticket, I just have faith all the way until it's time to leave. So yeah.
Casey, do you have some prayer requests that you could post those to this group as well?
I am. I will.
Okay.
I'll say this now. Let's keep Zeta in prayer. She's been dealing with a lot of health issues. I think some of you guys know. But the doctor did clear her last week to be able to go. And that was a concern of ours, wondering whether or not she was going to be cleared to go. But she was, and she is. But now somebody mentioned it. The challenge is there is a lot of hostility in places. You know, our lodging is right next to the particular compound or the community we'll be visiting. Is really in walking distance and it's pretty safe. So that's kind of where we'll spend our time. One of the reasons why I let this grow, you know, I want people to be intimidated. Also, I want to blend in. So I said, well, you know, I'm not going to cut my hair again until after this Africa trip. So yeah, I want to blend in. Because I want nobody approaching my bride while we walking down the street. So keep us in prayer. But again, we've kind of talked through our avenues and plans. And then it's actually a tourist spot as well. But there is a lot of conflict. But the beautiful thing is it's right part on the borders of the 240 window, meaning there's a hot spot right across the street from it, so to speak, where man, there's a seedbed of Muslims who are really in just internal conflict of whether or not they're seeing the right thing from their religious background, and that's how they pull those youth and kids out of that Muslim religion. So training this group has a lot of potential is where I'm going. A lot of potential, you know. So yeah, just because of where they are.
So the bottom line is you going around doing Matthew chapter 28. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. I give my life to it. Yes,
okay,
sir.
I appreciate that. Okay, so we need, in other words, we just need to come on board.
So quick story. I think you guys heard this before. You know, I said when I gave my life to Christ in 2004, I struggled in a lot of areas. And finally in 2009 or 2008, I met Sue Campbell. And there was a lot of things that had happened, transformation, spiritual transformation. Man, just God using me in a lot of ways, but I didn't know anything about the Great Commission of spiritual reproduction. Long story short, when I learned the Great Commission, man, I felt like a newborn baby all over, because when I gave my life to Christ, I had vowed to God that I had failed you all these years, and I didn't want to fail you anymore. And after, you know, living for him for 4, almost 5 years, and then I get introduced to the Great Commission, I felt like a spiritual failure when I learned the Great Commission, because here I am living for God, and I know nothing about the Great Commission. I know nothing about spiritual reproduction. And so I gave my life, I had given my life to Christ. But when I went back and prayed after I met Sue that evening in my cell, I prayed to God and said, God, I give my life to the Great Commission. And I believe that's an important commitment that we should make. If you haven't made it, really think through that. You know, giving your life to Christ is excellent, it's phenomenal, but I think that's the leading or the first step. But giving your life to the commission on a whole new meaning, I promise you it does. And it has for me. You know, it has for me. And I've seen the tremendous impact from that. Let me share a glimpse of these guys. This is my favorite song right here. This is this group. This is one of my favorite songs that they sing. And so when I first saw the video, I'm like, man, those guys remind me of some of my folks in Haiti.
seated on the throne, live it forevermore. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Live it forevermore. He's the lion, lion and the lamb, seated on the throne, live it forevermore. He's the same yesterday, today, yeah, and forevermore. Live it forevermore. There was a prophecy spoken in times of old, moved by the Spirit, holy men proclaim about the mission of Yeshua, the mission of Yeshua. So unfortunate, they couldn't live to witness. So unfortunate, they couldn't live to witness the glory of Yeshua. The glory of Yeshua, Yeshua.
He's the lion,
Yeah.
lion and the lamb,
Yeah.
seated on the
We
throne.
live it forever.
Live it forevermore.
He's the
Y'all get the picture. You can look them up. El Shaddai Music Group. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but long story short, two things I'm reminded of that we'll look at in our teaching today with the potential of this group. One is again, this group is seated right on the border of one of the hot spots of the 240 window. So we're talking about the potential of really impacting some of the most unreached people groups with the gospel. But also, we talk about investing in the next generation. You know, it's generational, right? Like our goal is to be, we call it the three to four generations deep. Man, these are young people. So when we started, when I was, when I came to Christ in prison, we started a particular ministry team where we would go over and we would witness to the people coming into prison, when they're in their first 30, 45 days. And one of the things that we kept in mind to them is, hey, we want to give you an opportunity to give your life to Christ before you get reacclimated in the segments of the gangs and all this other stuff. And so we used to teach people that we want to live in a way where we represent God early on in the worst situations we could ever be in, but we wanted to engage them when they were making these early choices to either reconnect to these gangs. And we saw a lot of people. I used to see 30, 40 people come to Christ at one time. And what I was sharing with Timothy's not on this video. These are the youth that he basically led to Christ, and taught them the gospel. But they don't know a lot of things about, spiritual reproduction and studying. But one of the things we talked about is this particular group has a chance to connect with Muslim youth in their community before they are fully committed to that way of life. And the goal of the vision is to think about this group constantly doing that 20 years down the road, the multiplication impact attached to that. So we got a chance to start a serious life transformation, a systemic transformation, in their particular area, because it is a hot spot for Muslim conflict, Muslim converts, and the government is led, it's a Muslim-led nation. So there are always needs for concern. So please remember that and keep us in prayer. But there's a way, I say, I live in Memphis. All right. We got the National Guard down here, and the feds, but I always remind my wife because, she lives in fear a lot of times in Memphis, and a lot of other people do. But the reality of it is, and I say this with a lot of humility, take this the right way. I don't live in fear in Memphis. I have no concern. There's a lot of reasons for that. One is that my simple trust in God. Like, I trust God with everything at my house, my porch, my driveway, everything. I'm like, hey, God, you'll cause them not to see that. You'll cause them not to even pull my door when I leave it open. So I just really believe in my heart, God. But also it's a certain way the young people teach me this. They said you got to move a certain way, Mr. B. And I've learned to kind of move a certain way in Memphis where I don't see the conflict. I don't watch the news, so I have to hear about it from somebody else. So if you ask me and you live with me and walk with me from Memphis, you wouldn't see a lot of robbing, killing, murders, and all this. You'll be like, man, this is a beautiful place. Man, there's a lot of impact happening. Man, I didn't know Memphis was like this. This is a great city to live in. But now if you ask other people on the next day or the next block or the same hour across the street, it might be a lot going on. But it's just the way so I talked with Tim about that. And I said, hey, man, I'm here with you for the first time. I got to trust the way you move in life. Tell me about, a week in your life. And he kind of walked me through it. And I said, well, I want to walk with you while I'm there. So, because I want to stay away from all the conflict, because my wife is a little concerned. So yeah. Come on, sorry, Dr. Fred, I had a hand before you. I don't know the name.
That's Rick. That's Rick Barnes.
Hey, that's Rick. Come on, man.
Yes, sir.
Your camera turned sideways, man. How you doing?
I don't know what's going on with my phone, but anyway, man, I just want to say two very valuable lessons that I've learned from you making this trip. I remember on Sunday, 3 years ago, when you actually introduced this group, and you said that you would be looking into finding out more about them. And I'm sitting here looking at 3 years and just thinking about the vision that you had when you saw this group. And for it to take 3 years to work through everything and to finally have an opportunity to impact the world through some young people that you had the vision for, man, that really encourages me, because this morning it tells me something, that when God gives us a vision and it doesn't come to fruition swiftly, and it takes time to process through, just holding on to that vision and following through, man, you've inspired me this morning, and I just had to say something about it.
Appreciate it, Rick. I had lost my timeline on that. So yeah, you got right, 2-3 years. I was thinking too, but time flies. But I just stayed persistent. I stayed relational, in communication, and I asked questions, and we just kind of built a relationship because, to be honest, I had to build my confidence, competence, and courage up as well. I don't teach those 3 C's for nothing. I walk through them myself. So yeah, come on, Dr. Fred.
Yeah, I want to say ditto to what Pastor Rick just said. I remember when you first mentioned this group as well. Yeah, but I really like what you said about not living in fear, and how you live in Memphis, and you said something about the National Guard. I don't know, but and you said that you just trust God and you don't pay a whole lot of attention to all that. Well, that's the way I feel about America today. I just don't pay no attention to CNN. I don't turn on Fox. I don't even listen to the local news. And man, I'm having the best life I ever had. And I thank God for America. And I believe the Bible. And I believe that this is what we should be doing. Instead of just giving our life to Christ, give our life to the Great Commission.
Yeah.
And I think that was revolutionary. So I love everybody. I'm happy as a boy in Sissy Town, and I don't give a shit about what's going on out there. Hallelujah. Jesus is Lord. Okay, now don't y'all throw me out the group because I said that bad word.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate you, brother.
Danny, you know I love you like a biscuit. Ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
You tell me all the time, God's still working on you, and man, I've seen you grow. So I'm a testament that I've seen you grow spiritually in front of my eyes. So appreciate you.
Well, Pastor K, here's the deal. Here's the deal, guys. We come on here to study the Bible, and I'm all about being real and transparent. I ain't about religion, and I ain't about form and fashion. And you shouldn't talk one thing in the day and another in the night. And if we go study the Bible, let's study the Bible like real men, and let's deal with this thing head on and be for real. And all of y'all probably cuss and say much thing worse than that in private, but then we say it in Bible study and we think it's something wrong with it. No, we need to quit. Ma'am, give me a moment. And we need to quit all that. That's my pitch. I'm out, man. I'm out.
Hey, Fred, we'll Dr. Fred, we'll forgive you for the word you used, okay? I can remember beginning a prayer group, and it was called the Old Farts Prayer Group, OFPG. And one of the OFs told me, he said, you know, I cannot be a part of a group that has in its title fart and prayer. So we left it OFPG, and it is now the Old Folks Prayer Group. Okay. But we forgive you, Fred.
Oh, well, I missed it, Judge. What you forgive me for?
It's on the recording.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Got it. I'll go back and listen to it. My bad. Please forgive me. Thank you for that.
No problem. Appreciate it. I think I missed one more hand. I don't know. I want to give somebody else a chance. I think I'm sorry, correct. If not, 10 seconds of silence means I go to my next agenda item. Appreciate you, man. Y'all keep this trip in prayer. Thank you guys. So yeah. I'll say this too now. Depending on where you guys are, because it's a short trip, it's still not too late to at least bring Julius on with this trip. He and I still talk about it. You know, he hopes like I hope, probably even more because his situations are a lot worse. But hey, you know, we just say, hey, you know, if it's God's will, He'll let it happen, and it ain't over till it's over. So yeah, so that's how I plan my trip. It ain't over till it's over. So yeah. All right. I'm gonna bring back to remembrance some stuff. I'm gonna get our recording going again, Brother Will.